This is some of the most bizarre and unsettling footage from the Second World War. The uniforms are instantly recognizable. The eagles, the field gray, the runes of the SS, the most ideologically driven, racially pure soldiers of the Third Reich. But the ritual is Salah, Islamic prayer. These were soldiers of the Waffen-SS, and they were Muslims. How was this possible? How could a regime obsessed with creating an Aryan master race, a regime that deemed most non-Germans as subhuman, create entire divisions of men who prayed to Allah? The answer lies in a dark and cynical corner of the war where desperation and opportunity became more important than ideology itself. By late 1942, the Nazi war machine was beginning to crack. The Blitzkrieg was a distant memory. On the vast, frozen plains of the Eastern Front, the Battle of Stalingrad was consuming German manpower at an unthinkable rate. The Sixth Army was encircled, and the myth of Wehrmacht's invincibility was dying in the snow. Germany was bleeding men, and it needed more, fast. The architect of the Holocaust, Reichsfuhrer SS Heinrich Himmler, saw a potential solution in a place no one expected. Himmler was a man of bizarre contradictions. He was obsessed with creating a racially pure Germanic superstate, yet he was also a cold pragmatist and harbored a strange, romanticized view of Islam, which he saw as a practical and warlike religion, admiring what he perceived as its promise of paradise for fallen warriors. He believed he could exploit the grievances of millions of Muslims living under rulers Germany was already fighting. The British in the Middle East, the French in North Africa, and the Soviets in the Caucasus and Central Asia. His plan was simple and brutal: weaponize their anger. Forge a temporary alliance based on the oldest principle of conflict: the enemy of my enemy is my friend. To do this, the Nazis needed a powerful voice, a figurehead who could lend legitimacy to their cause in the Arab world. They found him in Hajj Amin al-Husseini, the exiled Grand Mufti of Jerusalem. Al-Husseini was a fervent Arab nationalist and a virulent anti-Semite who saw the British Mandate and the growing Jewish population in Palestine as existential threats. Having fled a British arrest warrant, he found a welcome home in Berlin. In a now infamous 1941 meeting, Hitler assured al-Husseini that once German armies reached the southern Caucasus, their objective would be the destruction of the Jewish element residing in the Arab sphere. The bargain was struck. From a powerful radio transmitter in Germany, al-Husseini became the Nazis' chief propagandist to the Muslim world. His broadcasts in fluent Arabic dripped with anti-Semitic and anti-Allied rhetoric, calling for a global jihad, not for the Nazis, but alongside them against their shared enemies, the British, the Soviets, and above all, the Jews. The first major test of this unholy alliance came in the blood-soaked hills of the Balkans. Following the invasion of Yugoslavia in 1941, the region of Bosnia had been absorbed into the Nazi-aligned independent state of Croatia, run by the fanatically brutal Ustaše regime. This sparked a chaotic, three-way civil war. Vying for control were the Serbian royalists, known as Chetniks, Josip Broz Tito's multi-ethnic communist partisans, and the occupying German and Croatian forces. The Bosnian Muslims, known as Bosniaks, were caught in the middle. They were slaughtered by Chetnik forces, seeking revenge for Ustaše atrocities, and pressured by the partisans to join their cause. It was in this cauldron of ethnic hatred and desperation that Himmler saw his opportunity. He would offer the Bosniaks protection and power by forming their very own SS division. In 1943, recruitment began for the 13th Waffen Mountain Division of the SS. It was given the nickname Handjar, named after the traditional curved dagger once carried by Ottoman policemen in the region, a symbol of a bygone era of local power.
Propaganda posters showed German and Bosnian soldiers shaking hands, promising a new autonomous Bosnia under the benevolent protection of the Reich. Over 20,000 Bosniaks volunteered. Their motivations were a complex mix of survival, ideology, and opportunism. Some were drawn in by al-Husseini's propaganda. Many more sought protection for their villages from Chetnik massacres. And for others, it was a chance for revenge and a steady salary.
To make the alliance work, Himmler made concessions that were utterly unthinkable anywhere else in the Third Reich. The soldiers were allowed to wear the fez, a symbol of their faith, both in combat and on parade. The SS quartermasters, the same organization that meticulously cataloged the belongings of murdered Jews, were ordered to provide them with pork-free, halal rations. Their daily training schedule was built around the 5 daily Islamic prayers. Imams, trained in Germany, were embedded in their ranks to serve as spiritual guides. But this was no band of brothers. Many of the German officers, steeped in Nazi racial ideology, looked down on their Bosnian recruits with contempt, privately referring to them as Muskelgermanen. The alliance was so fragile that in September 1943, while training in Villefranche-de-Rouergue, France, a group of soldiers led by communist sympathizers staged a mutiny, the only armed uprising in the entire history of the Waffen-SS. They captured and executed 5 German officers before it was brutally crushed. The ringleaders were summarily executed. It was a bloody omen. This was an army built not on trust, but on pure, cynical convenience.